Hi Sam, thanks for coming in. I'm going to try to keep this fairly brief and do an overview of today, main ideas. But we will take a look. I've got 3 swings in here. They all look about the same, so I'm just going to use this one. Like I said, your setup looks really good. Takeaway, Sam, is a little lifty for my preference, but my bigger concern is, as you can see, the face is probably 90 degrees open already. Now that would work really well for little pitch shots if you're trying to hit like a soft pitch shot or a shot over a bunker. So we're going to work on that a little bit next time I see you. Don't think that'll take a ton of work, just going to reinforce how to do that a little bit better. But like I said, generally the top of your swing looks pretty stock. Good left arm position, right elbow and right humerus bone are pretty much connected to your torso. So pretty good there. This particular swing, you are a little less steep coming down, and you can see it is certainly not much comparing those lines, but we may work a little on that next time I see you. But you can see you start to replane the club pretty well in the later downswing. But yeah, my bigger concern, and sorry this is a little dark, is there's P6 was when the shaft is last parallel to the floor, or what some people may call release point. You can see that the hips are still pretty square, shoulders are a little closed, and then from there we're gonna see the right elbow extend and a fair amount of club face rotation past the ball, which means to look that way post impact, we had to have already been doing that from P6 through. And unfortunately that roll release is probably the most commonly taught way to fix a slice, and it's also the release pattern that's the least reliable for consistency of club face control. It also can cause some problems with the bottom of the swing being too far behind the ball. And then our face contact can get pretty variable because the club face is actually getting smaller as it rolls over. Okay, so that's our big quest is to change your release pattern, get you into a little bit more body-oriented golf swing. But we can do that, we'll have to do that kind of slowly and progressively. It won't be painful, but it will take a little bit of time. So I've got some drills in here for you. This one, I like to start with any new idea or any new major philosophy change in how to move a golf club, getting away from the ball. And then I like to do it just standing tall, so I can not even have to worry about being bent over and any stress on the back. And so as you can see, I'm just holding the club kind of in the middle of my body, standing tall. And then I'm going to use a little shoulder turn, a little bit of right elbow bend, and a little bit of set in the wrist. And I'm going to go, okay, I want the club to get back here without rolling the club face. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to have to get a little bit of weight left, and then I'm going to just rotate my torso. And you can see the face will naturally start to square as a result of the arms being connected to the body and a little bit of centrifugal force, if you want to call it that. So there'd be impact, and I've got forward shaft lean. I didn't try to do anything in particular, I just turned from that position. I'm going to just ask you to rehearse that nice and slow. If you've got a mirror, that's a great way to practice because you can see and confirm what you're trying to do. There's P8, or shaft parallel again post impact. and you can see the body is pretty much facing the imaginary target. And we're just going to ask you to do this period before we even think about applying a golf ball, because unfortunately the ball can create a conflict in the brain because we've programmed a certain pattern of how to hit a golf ball. So we've got to get away from the ball, first of all, to just change the program in the brain and go, I don't want to do this action anymore, because you can see how my chest doesn't have to rotate, my hips don't have to rotate, my right arm starts to straighten, and the club face is just completely ever constantly changing through the strike. And that's just, again, the most unreliable way to be consistent. So there's what we want to feel, and then I'll show you different views. So it's just like a closing door. You're just allowing the club to move from body rotation instead of this activity, right? Then if I want to practice it bent over, I now know what to feel. I can rehearse it again without a ball and going, this is no more complicated. I'm just standing in a different way versus this activity. And you can see how the butt end of the club shows versus this release pattern. The hands start to disappear behind the body, but the club head is still visible way post impact. So that's another progressive way to practice before we ever think about getting to a ball. Okay. And you just rehearse it nice and slow until you get from shaft parallel to shaft parallel, then the elbow folds, and then we finish with the club across the back of the head. So now I'm just doing from a little bit more bent over position, again without a ball, to train my body what I want to feel through the shot. Okay. And hopefully it looks fairly uncomplicated. I'll show you this view. Standing fairly tall still. So the chest is always moving. The hips are moving as a response to the torso moving. Of course, everything's a little bit open already. So hopefully you can see the stability in the face as we rehearse it from this angle. There's the old release, right? Right arm starts to immediately come off the chest, hands get away from the body, club face turns over too much. This is more arms connected to the body, so therefore if we keep those arms on the chest, then we program the brain, well, you better keep revolving the chest, otherwise you're not going to hit the ball. Then I like to make some movements with a bat because it's heavy. I can get away from any essence of a club and just rehearse the feel, and it's because it's heavy, it helps me build a little bit of strength in my golf muscles. There's kind of a full swing delivering into 6. There's continued rotation. Wrists will naturally unhinge with a bat the proper way. As you can see, there's no rollover. And then the rollover occurs because of the momentum of the swing and the weight of the object that we're swinging. Okay? So I would encourage you to start like this for a couple of days. You know, you would think that you need to practice with the ball, but again, the ball creates some conflict in the brain. And we need to spend a couple days rehearsing these things. The minimum number I would say to do is 60 a day. And if you can keep mentally engaged, 100% focused on what you're trying to do for just 60 reps, that would be a very good, solid practice session. If you wanted to do more than one session a day, that's fine. But 60 reps a day, every rep done properly, is about the minimum that we could expect to start seeing change in the future. If we did 160 today and did nothing for 3 days, unfortunately the muscles, the mind, because these activities that we're trying to change are going to be stored in short-term memory, the brain will forget and it won't be there in 3 days, even though we've practiced it a lot today. So it's much better to do 60 a day than it is to do 200 today, skip 2 days, do 60, skip a day, do 100 or whatever. We just got to find a little bit of time, go through these motions, and let our brain and body become really clear, moving very slowly through these different changes that we're trying to make. And then 2 or 3 days down the road, you can put a couple balls down, rehearse the swings more than the shots, little wedge shots, 20-25 yards. That's all we need. It's going to sound bizarre, but that's the proper way to start making long-term changes, okay?